I've been a money maker, I've been a record breaker, taking credit as an educator. I've been known to spit the flows and make it shaky, shaky thing. Popping, locking, stopping, let it hang. Watch us as we drop this hip hop, it's like it stings. We make a whole room drop and everybody sing. We want the funk, we gotta have that funk. We kick it old school, we think we're so cool. We take it back to the past, we gonna act a fool. Enough jumps, the middle finger make my yay.
Hello and welcome to Sports Buzz, the Fanatical View. I am your host, Scott D. Lewis, here live in studio, Comcast Cable Channel 23, downtown Danbury, Connecticut, on this sweltering and a little bit rainy September 12th. Usually at this time of the show, I would be saying hello to my right-hand man, Mr. Bob Raw Jr. Sadly, Bob is not here today. As some of you have been following the show know, Bob's father, Bob Sr., has been having some health issues over the past year, and Bob's father did pass away last night, September 11th. So we want to send our condolences out to Bob as we see him there in that great shot with the two flags. And Bob, of course, was out last night before going home to be with his father again, where his father did pass peacefully in his home, honoring the victims of 9/11 and gathering that footage for you on his show, Spotlight On, as he always brings that sort of thing to you and things that are happening around the local scene. And of course, Bob Sr., our biggest fan, quite literally and figuratively. As we know, Bob goes a full 7 feet tall, and we know where he got his height from, his dad, who he also called his best friend. I don't know if he was quite 7 feet, but the two of them standing together, they looked pretty head to head there, probably as tall as each other. So he was definitely close to that 7-foot range. And it's going to be tough going out to the local sports scenes, local sporting events. Many a year has gone by where you could see Bob and his dad, Westerners games, Whalers games, WestCon sporting events, high school sporting events. Heck, you could even see him down at the men's softball league games, men's basketball games, leagues. They were always checking out the local sports scene together, and they had a great time doing it. Big sports fans, big New York sports fans. If you saw them out together, they probably had on some Mets gear, Rangers gear, some Giants football gear, or some Knicks attire, something like that, hanging out together, enjoying themselves and enjoying the sports and talking sports. So it's a tough day for the show, certainly a tough day for Bob and his family. We express our condolences, and we will move on, and we will do what they like to do, which was talk sports. Before we get to that, we did have a couple charitable things that we did want to mention that took place recently in the area. Speaking of those Danbury Westerners, they made a nice contribution at the end of their season to the Newtown Youth Commission, as the board collected some money from the team, and they came up with a nice $3,045 donation to the Newtown Youth Commission. So hats off to the Westerners, always giving back to the community, doing special events and the such, and also making donations where it is needed. So we'd like to acknowledge their efforts in doing that. And then also the Bethel Healthcare received a nice donation earlier this month, actually in August, as the Patriots sent down former safety Bucky Jones, who was one of my favorite players, actually. I always liked Bucky. I was not happy when they let him go. Bucky, if you remember, in the Patriots' first Super Bowl, Bucky would have sealed the deal when the Rams were making their second half comeback against the Patriots. They were down by the goal line, and the Patriots forced another turnover. Bucky Jones scooped up the fumble, ran back for what would have been a clinching touchdown to put them up 2 scores. Instead, the refs called a ridiculous penalty on Willie McGinnis. Defensive holding on a run play? You gotta be kidding me. And overturned that would-be clinching turnover touchdown, and Bucky was robbed of his glory. And the Patriots did, of course, go on to win that Super Bowl anyways, as they marched down the field, and Adam Vinatieri became a legend with his kick as time wound down. But Tabucky Jones came to the Bethel Healthcare on behalf of the Myra Craft community donation from the Crafts and the Patriots, their charitable foundation, and they donated $10,000 to the Bethel Healthcare to go towards their ALS research. Shirley Fredlin accepted that check on behalf of Tabucky Jones. So it was a nice thing that the Patriots did. Nice of Tabucky Jones to come right down to Bethel, Connecticut, my hometown. So that was a neat thing that we wanted to acknowledge as well. All right, we are going to get on with the show. Plenty of sports to talk about. Football, baseball, a little U.S. Open, tennis, a little World Cup qualifying, college football, all sorts of things to get to. Amazingly, we will get to the football first, but quick hinting at what we will talk about later with baseball. How on earth are the Yankees still in this playoff race when the Boston Red Sox went to the Bronx this past weekend and just battered their brains in, taking 3 out of 4. Unbelievable. We will get to that, and the Yankees hanging tough and pulling to within 1 game of the wild card, but we do need to talk NFL first. Of course, the phone line is open. 203-792-4101 is the number if you want to call and talk about any sporting topic. Big game tonight. Another New York-Boston sports rivalry gets going as the Patriots welcome into their home opener the New York Jets, 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 who pulled a big shocker. Got a nice little gift from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this past weekend on opening weekend down there in the Jets home opener as they rallied for an 18-17 victory when the Bucs, who were, basically one smart play away from ending the game, made a stupid play as the defense had a late hit on Geno Smith, and it was Geno time as they tried to salvage the victory as they gave away the lead late to the Bucs, who had kicked a seemingly game-winning field goal with about 30 seconds left. And the Jets catch a break with the out-of-bounds late hit by the Bucs, put them right into field goal range. Time running out. Bending good, the kick, up and away, and the Jets stun the Bucs 18-17 after the late hit by the Bucs. Ridiculous. Geno Smith goes 24 for 38, 256 yards passing, a TD he threw 4, and he led the team, which really is not a good thing, with 47 rushing yards. The rushing attack was not up to snuff against the Bucs. And Revis, how distraught must have he been coming back to face his old team, the Jets, and his new team, the Bucs, just gives the game away. They played a pathetic game throughout, numerous undisciplined penalties throughout this game. Their offense couldn't get anything going. Josh Freeman, not a good sign when your QB, who was the team captain, gets his captaincy stripped from him by the team as they named new captains. Not a good thing. And there we see in the background Mark Sanchez on the sideline rooting his team on. And Mark may have played his last game as a New York Jet as Geno in his opening game leads the way. And the Jets right there, we see them celebrating a safety, dubious start to the Bucs season. How about this? There was 4 games this weekend that had safeties take place in them. Beginning of the day on Sunday, all you saw were 2 zeros up on the board all across the league, which was a little bit stunning to see. But the Jets do get a big win. The Patriots, on the other hand, they do get a win, and they get a last-second field goal as well to pull off this win as they shuffled off to Buffalo. Looked like they were cruising in the first half, up 17-3, and then a couple costly turnovers really got the Bills right back in it, and the Patriots went down 21-17 in the second half, and Tom Brady had to lead the Chargers back in a rally formation, and he did as he hit Danny Amendola for 10 completions, including a couple big third down conversions late in the game on the final march as they marched right down with 9 seconds left and kicked that go-ahead field goal to win the game. Amendola, who was hurt in this game, tweaked his groin muscle. That doesn't sound too pleasant. And he did come back in the second half after doing that and played out the game, came up with those big receptions. But he is listed as doubtful for tonight's game. And an even bigger blow, Shane Vereen, who went for 160 total yards receiving and rushing in the game against the Bills. Amazingly enough, he fractured a bone in his wrist on the opening play of the game, and he played the rest of the game racking up those big numbers. But after the game, the swelling started to go up, and they did the test, and sure enough, he had a broken bone. He had surgery on that wrist. I mean, come on, I thought football players were tough. Just put a cast on the thing. Why do you always, I don't understand this with sports these days. When guys have a broken bone in the wrist, they always go for surgery. Hey, I broke my wrist numerous times as a kid. I never had surgery. Put a cast on that thing, good as new. He could be out there playing this week. I mean, he went for 160 total yards in the game with the bone broken. No cast on it at all. What's the problem? Let him play. Anyways, he is on the injured reserve. So now they could be without Amendola, it looks like tonight. Gronk is still a week away from being ready. It looks like he's listed as doubtful. It could be a shock as they get ready to go tonight. Maybe they will say he's ready to go, even though he is listed as doubtful. Vereen is out, so Brady has limited weapons to go to tonight. Stephen Ridley. They did re-sign Leon Washington to help with the kicking game. Julian Edelman had a huge game for them. He's going to be a big target. 2 touchdown receptions he had, and he helps out in the kick return situation. But it's going to be up to the rookies who did not look that great, in that game against the Bills. And it's also going to be up to the defense. That's really where it's going to be after the Patriots tonight. They're going to need a big defensive effort against the rookie quarterback. Back-to-back weeks, they faced rookie QBs to start this season. E.J. Manuel for the Bills played pretty well. Now they get Geno Smith for the Jets. We'll see what they can do up there in Foxborough tonight as they open the season looking to go 2-0. But the Jets, the chirpy Jets, the chatty Jets back in action. They come up with that gift of a victory against the pathetic Bucks this weekend. Oh, by the way, we got that phone call from Kevin Gallagher last week. I wonder if he'll call again to explain himself as he picked the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to be a Super Bowl team this year, and they go and lay an egg against the Jets. We'll see what happens there. So the Jets get that gift, and then they get all chatty, guaranteeing the victory. Defensive lineman Wilkerson goes on local sports radio show this week and guarantees a victory tonight up in Foxborough. Those chatty Jets are back. Rex Ryan backed him up all the way and said, hey, what the heck, we're going up there to win. What else are we going to do? That's why we play, to win. We can take care of it. We can handle our business. So they're back and ready to go as the season gets underway. All the off-season nonsense is over. The games are being played for real right now. So a huge game tonight. We'll see what goes on. I expect a low-scoring game with the Patriots having to play some solid, big-time defense tonight as they look to get to 2-0 and not get upset by those feisty, chatty Jets. Other big games in the AFC last week before we get to the Giants and their debacle against the Cowboys. The season started off in Denver, mile high, as the Ravens, those defending champion Baltimore Ravens, had to do the unthinkable and play on the road in Denver, the site of where they stole that playoff game from Peyton Manning when he took a knee last year and gave up on the season in overtime. And the Ravens, the defending champs, went out there and they got paid back big time by the Broncos. Peyton Manning throws for seven touchdown passes in that Thursday night opener. Wes Welker, the new Patriot, catches 2 of those TD, or the old Patriot, new Bronco, catches 2 of those TD passes from Peyton Manning. So the Broncos off and running as they start their season with a bang. They will be coming to town to face those Giants this weekend in a big matchup, brother versus brother, Eli versus Peyton. Other AFC games of note. How about those Steelers? What happened to Pittsburgh, Blitzburg? They had a safety to start the game up 2-0, and that was it. They couldn't get anything going the whole rest of the game. It took them to the final 2 minutes of the game to score a touchdown, and at that point they were trailing 16-2 against Tennessee. Remember the Titans as they march back with the defensive effort against those Steelers, and they win it 16-9. Unbelievable. Not looking good for the Steelers. I mentioned last week they have no running game of note. And they re-signed Jonathan Dwyer this week. They have no idea what they want to do with their running game, and they got some issues as they lost their all-pro center, Pouncey, early in that game for the season. He is out. And how about Kevin Gallagher should have predicted his team, the Kansas City Chiefs, maybe as a Super Bowl contender. We knew they were being improved this year with the new coach, Andy Reid, new QB, Alex Smith, and they go ahead and they pound the Jacksonville Jaguars. Don't know if I want to read too much into that as the Jags look to be a pathetic team this year. They did get a safety as well as the Steelers, and that was it as they lose 28-2. Unbelievable. What is going on in the NFL? I thought after that Thursday night affair with the Broncos going 49-27 on the Ravens, we weren't going to see any defense at all this weekend, but we did see some low-scoring games, and that was all there was. The Jags could muster 2 points against the Chiefs. Alex Smith looked good, and that was that. And the Colts, how about the Colts? We talked about the Colts, second year for Andrew Luck. 8th comeback in his young career in 17 starts as he rallied his Colts against the Raiders for a comeback victory in the fourth quarter. The Colts were winning this game, looked to be in full control. They fell behind, and he had to rally for a fourth quarter victory. The Colts, I do not think, wanted to continue to make a habit of this. They need to play better from start to finish and not keep getting themselves in this situation where they need to come from behind to win these games. Other big game in the AFC wasn't necessarily a big game, but the way it went down as it closed out the season, the late Monday night game. Remember, first week of the year, there's always a doubleheader now in the NFL to finish that week off. And the late game, the Texans went to San Diego, fell behind by 21 to those Superchargers, and then they rallied back from 21 down in the third quarter for a 31-28 victory to finish off the weekend. Big comeback from the Texans as they get their season going in a big way. In the NFC, the Sunday night fair, it was the G-men, the New York Football Giants, heading down to Big D to take on, how about them Cowboys, in a big Sunday night affair. And the first half was really just pathetic. Poor play by both teams, turnover after turnover. The Giants on their way to 6 turnovers in this game. Eli on his way to 3 interceptions. First possession, he threw it right at the Cowboy defender rushing through the middle. What was he thinking? How could he not see him busting through the line, trying to throw a screen pass? Pathetic play by Eli, really. And the Giants, the Cowboys could not take advantage of the early miscues, and the Giants kept hanging around. Then the Cowboys went up by 10 points, a double-digit lead in the second half, and you figure this has got to be it. But no, the Giants just keep coming back because the Cowboys couldn't put them away. They couldn't take advantage of these turnovers, and their defense just started going into the prevent early, and it was Eli to Victor Cruz, 80 yards. Eli to Victor Cruz for other deep passing plays. Cruz ended up with 3 touchdowns, and the Giants amazingly found themselves with the ball twice, down by 6 in the fourth quarter, with a chance to come from behind and do what they usually do against the Cowboys and beat them down in Big D. They were 4-0 all time in the new Cowboys Stadium, but the Cowboys had never lost to the Giants on opening day. That may have been the stat you needed to look at as you tried to figure out what would happen in this game. And Eli, sure enough, threw another pick 6 going the other way as he was trying to rally the troops for that comeback victory. Was not meant to be. Cowboys 36, Giants 31, and that was that. Eli does throw for 450 yards, but he did have the 3 INTs, 4 touchdown passes, and David Wilson, the new running back, 2 fumbles, 19 yards rushing. They've signed Brandon Jacobs off the scrap heap this week bringing back the thunder to Wilson's lightning. We'll see if Jacobs has anything left. We know he went to San Francisco last year, didn't play at all, as they ended up cutting him late in the season, had nothing to offer, so it's been a full season since Jacob has provided anything to a football team in a football season. We'll see what he can do. The one bright spot I thought, new tight end, once again, third season, Eli's got to get familiar with a new tight end, and he did, throwing 7 receptions, 66 yards, and a touchdown pass to Myers, the new guy from Oakland. So that was a positive. They will see what they can do as they come home for their home opener against those Broncos. I expect this game to be about 70-60. It'll be a high-scoring game as no defense will be played, and these two teams will run up and down the field throwing bombs all over the place. Other big games of note in the NFC, the Saints 23-17 win over those Dirty Birds. The Falcons, the Saints come marching back with their head coach back in the mix, Sean Payton, and they come up with a good defensive effort against those Falcons, and they held the Falcons from scoring the go-ahead touchdown as Tony Gonzalez could not come up with the TD in the end zone as the Saints defense knocked it down. The Detroit Lions rallied big time against the Minnesota Vikings. Didn't look good early when Peterson went for a 78-yard touchdown run, and the Vikings were up early in this game, but the Lions kept marching back all the way 34-24, and Peterson didn't even break 100, only 93 yards in the game after the big run early, as the Lions defense loaded up 8 men in the box to shut him down. 49ers, Green Bay, maybe the game of the weekend. 49ers come back 34-28 against Green Bay. A lot of words were spoken before this game went down, and then things got a little dicey in this game as things got really, Matthews went after Kaepernick on the sideline. A lot of people debated this. Most people felt it was a cheap shot as he launched himself against Kaepernick going out of bounds. I didn't think it was that cheap, really. When you have a mobile quarterback like Kaepernick who's running at full speed and he's on the sideline and you launch yourself and then he steps out of bounds and you launch yourself and you nail him out of bounds. I mean, what are these guys supposed to do? You don't know what this kid's going to do. He's a big-time rushing QB, and he came up with, they actually kept him in check as he ended up being a passing quarterback. But the threat of the run with these running quarterbacks, the defenses are at their mercy. They need to take them out. When the guy's running the ball, looking to get an extra yard for a first down, it was a close third down play that would have set up a fourth down, and it should have set up a fourth down as the refs, admittedly, after the game, the NFL admits that the refs blew the call because there was a dust-up, a little fight on the sideline after that hit by Matthews, and there was offsetting penalties, both of which took place out of bounds. Should have been fourth down. Instead, they replayed the down, giving San Fran an extra third down, and they ended up converting a touchdown instead of taking a field goal. Big play in that game gave them an extra 4 points to change what took place later. But, the Green Bay Packers had the lead in the second half, and they could not hold on as the 49ers welcomed Anquan Bolden into the mix. The former Raven signed with the Niners, and he made a spectacular debut, coming up large for those Niners. Kaepernick threw for 412 yards in that game. Big outing by him. There we see the Eagles in the other Monday night game and another NFC big-time tilt going against RG3, or is it RG me, or is it RG knee? RG3 was all in for week 1, coming back from his knee injury at the end in the playoffs last year, and the Redskins did not look good at all early on in this game, and the new Chip Kelly offense looked sharp. Mike Vick leading the way as he was handing the ball off to Shady McCoy. 184 yards rushing for LaShawn McCoy. Big time effort by the Eagles. They were up 33-7 in the third quarter before the Redskins mounted some late comeback yards in the second half, fourth quarter, making it 33-27 final, scoring that final touchdown with about a minute left. Garbage time, if you ask me. Didn't look good. Now the Redskins head to Green Bay this weekend. 2 0-1 teams heading for a big-time tilt. Let's see which team will come out 1-1. Other big games this weekend, the Vikings take on the Bears. The Bears beat the Bengals So they're 1-0. Vikings at Bears. That's a tough tilt for the Vikings who lost that first game to the Lions. Cowboys head to Kansas City. That's a tough one as well. I don't know. We'll see what happens with this Chiefs team. Dolphins at Colts. Redskins, I mentioned, at Packers. Broncos at Giants. 49ers at Seahawks. The Sunday nighter. That's a big-time game as these two division rivals out in the NFC West take on each other. And the Steelers look to recover against the Bengals, who lost to the Bears on Monday night. Quick notes before we finish with baseball. Tennis, U.S. Open wrapped up. Rafael Nadal won his second U.S. Open, 13th major overall, knocking off Djokovic 6-2, 3-6, 6-4, 6-1 in quite a tilt. And Serena Williams gets her 5th U.S. Open. Soccer, U.S. Clinches their World Cup berth as their 12-match streak was ended against Costa Rica last week, but they backed it up by coming back and getting a 2-0 victory against Mexico to clinch their berth. College football real quick. Georgia beat South Carolina after losing to Clemson last week, 41-30. That was a big game. Miami knocked off Florida 21-16. I thought that was big. And the biggest game of the weekend, Michigan knocking off Notre Dame 41-30. Of course, this weekend, two big games. Nationally, Bama at Texas A&M. And UConn locally welcomes old friend Randy Edsall and Maryland up to the rent for a game this weekend. Baseball, the Red Sox scored what? 50-plus runs against the Yankees this weekend. 34 runs, I should say, in the 4-game series in the Bronx. 9-8 they beat them, 12-8 they beat them, 13-9 they beat them the first 3 games. The Yankees, after Mariano blew his second save of the series, did rally for a 4-3 game winning tally on Sunday to close out that series. Amazingly enough, I don't know what's more amazing, that the Red Sox went in there and pounded them all these games, or that the Yankees and the media somehow felt like the Yankees season was over after this weekend. The Yankees lost no ground whatsoever after losing 3 straight to the Red Sox because the Tampa Bay Rays stink. The Red Sox have now taken the first 2 games of that series. The Rays have lost 13 of 17 overall and are free-falling. So the Yankees now find themselves, after taking the last 2 in Baltimore, they dropped the first one of this 4-game set. Baltimore needs to bounce back to split this series tonight in Baltimore, or the Yankees could find themselves even. They're 2 out in the loss column, but only 1 game out of the wild card. So why everybody felt like they were done, I do not know. The Indians and the Orioles are a game and a half out. The Royals, the hard-charging Royals, who took 2 out of 3 so far against the Indians, they are 2 out. They might be the team now to watch out that the Yankees have to keep going. But again, the Yankees are in Baltimore tonight to finish out this 4-game series. Then they head to Boston, who are just clicking on all cylinders. 89-58, best record in all of baseball, 9.5-game lead. They welcomed back Buckholz this weekend. So it's going to be another big series in Boston for the Yankees and the Red Sox this weekend. We'll see if the Red Sox can pound them again, and maybe some of the other teams can actually win. We will be back next week, and we will see you then. And enjoy all the sports that there is to see this weekend. More big football, big baseball series again.